90% of business funding applications get turned down due to a poor fundable foundation. You simply don't know how to set up your business. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what you should be doing before you even start your LLC to make sure the funding process goes smooth and you get the best results possible. The first part here is picking a name for your business. So the whole purpose is to actually come off as low risk as possible to the banks. And so if you're in certain industries, this will unfortunately be considered higher risk and you want to avoid falling into that category. So for the actual picking of the name, you do not want to include anything that would be associated with a high risk industry. So if you're in real estate or trucking, unfortunately, those are examples of high risk industry categories and you would be considered higher risk. So if you include anything such as real estate investing or even logistics inside of your LLC name, you're automatically going to be placed into those buckets. And this will make it a lot harder for you to get funding. And that's because one of two things will happen. Either number one, you'll be blacklisted by the banks, meaning that you'll automatically get denied when it comes to business funding applications. Or number two, you're going to be very limited when it comes to what you actually get approved for. So instead of getting these large limits that we tend to get for our low risk clients, you will actually get approved for maybe very small limits such as $1, $2, or $3,000. So for you to actually get the results you're hoping to get when it comes to your funding, it'll take you a lot more to get to your desired result, even if you can actually get there, because you most likely will get denied. So again, the banks are going to be receiving a lot of applications every single day. They receive thousands. So most of the time, the AI is actually reading through the applications and looking for any kind of reason to deny you, basically. So if they find any type of association with a high risk industry, they're going to automatically flag it. And this will also come down to that name, as I mentioned. So if you include any high risk industry, that's going to automatically trigger that red flag. So to actually construct your name, I would recommend something that's very generic. So this could be a word and then something followed with consulting, ventures, enterprise, solutions. So something that's very broad that might be considered either consulting, marketing, management, and these are all low risk industries. So if you can have somewhat of a broad name, this will not trigger any flags and will make sure you get much better results. Something else to pay attention to is to check whether or not your LLC name is even available. And you can do this by going on the Secretary of State website and doing an LLC lookup. You can go through the entire list and make sure your LLC name is even available. And if it is, then you can proceed. Now that you have your LLC name, the second part is actually picking your NAICS code. This is the NAICS code, which is the North American Industry Classification System. So this comes back to that first point I made in which we're trying to seem as low risk as possible to the banks. And this code is actually going to directly attribute you into one of the industries. So when it comes to your name, you basically don't want to trigger any flags and get automatically categorized into a bucket. But in this case, you're actually directly picking which industry your company is in. So now you're making this decision as to what you may be considered. So it's really important you actually pick this number as well, because if you don't, you're basically automatically going to get assigned one whenever you open up a business checking account or you apply for a business loan application. And whenever you describe your business activity, the lender or banker may try to pick one for you based on their best guess, but they might not pick one that would be in your best favor, thus, again, falling you into that higher risk industry, limiting your results. So it's great that you actually pick the industry yourself before you actually even start any banking relationships and before you actually even open your LLC, so that when you go and apply for your EIN number, now you have that number already picked out. When it comes to actually picking your NAICS code, the most important will be the first three numbers. So you can actually go to the NAICS.com website and do some research to figure out exactly what would make sense for your actual company. But I have a recommendation in which I would recommend checking out the 541 code. So this will actually place you inside of the scientific, technical, and professional category. And this is considered very low risk by the banks. And within that category, there's actually a lot of different options for industries. So you can most likely find something that makes sense for your company. And again, we're trying to go for low risk categories. So whenever you have a company that has different aspects to the business, you could potentially focus on one aspect that's a little bit lower risk. So for example, if you're a real estate investment company, well, this is a higher risk because it's investing, which is also going to involve risk. You have real estate, which is going to have a lot of capital intensive activities involved. So this is a high risk industry, but you also tend to do some real estate management inside of that, right? You are actually managing different tenants. So instead of being categorized as a real estate investment firm, you could be categorized as a real estate management firm, which is going to be a lot lower risk. If you're in trucking, for example, this is another high risk industry because it's very capital intensive. So instead of being a trucking industry category, you could potentially be a management company because inside your trucking business, you might be managing a team or you might just be managing yourself. So there are different angles for you to actually pursue to make sure that you actually do fall into that low risk industry. There's a lot of different options within that 541 code. Another good option is the 611 code. This is the education category. This is also considered low risk. So if you're selling a course online, for example, this could make sense for you. But overall, do some research on the nakes.com website. I think pursuing something that falls into that 541 is an easy bet for you. There's a lot of different options for it to actually make sense for your business. So now that you have your LLC name and your NAICS code, now you actually want to get some of the business assets that will make you look a lot more professional. And the first one I recommend is getting an actual business email. So this is going to actually make you stand out and look a lot more professional. A lot of people just have their first and last name at gmail.com, which is fine, but when it comes to actually getting funding, we want to look very bankable. We want to look very professional so that we can show the banks that we're actually here to be serious and make some money to pay them back. So I'd recommend going on Google Suite, which is a great option. They make it very easy for you to purchase a domain and attach that to your actual business email. And so you can set all this up within a couple minutes and it shouldn't cost you more than $20. So go out there and pick something that would have, for example, your first name or support or info or anything like that at yourbusiness.com. Make sure it's not something at gmail.com or at Yahoo or whatever. You want it to be an actual business email that you'd be using for business purposes. The second business asset that I recommend is getting a business phone number. And you can get this through grasshopper.com. It's a company that I use, and you can get either a 1-800 number or a local number. So these seem very basic, getting the email and the phone number. But you'd be surprised as to how many people don't actually set this up. And so you can really stand out by looking so much more professional compared to everyone else. Now that you have all this set up, you can actually go and start your LLC. So it's really important that you actually take these steps prior because now whenever you go and open a business checking account or apply for something, they're going to be asking for this information anyways. So instead of having to go back and change things and update it, you'll have everything set up correctly the first time right off the bat. Because whenever you're actually applying for funding, the banks want to make sure you have all the information matching everywhere. And if it's not, that's another reason for higher risk and getting flagged. So whenever you actually start your funding process, you'll have all the different things set up already. You'll know your industry classification. You'll have your email. You'll have your phone number. And you'll be that much more prepared when it comes to the funding results. When it comes to actually opening your LLC, I recommend using Northwest Registered Agent. It's a website I've been using for the past couple years. I've referred a lot of clients over to them, and they're great because they have great customer support. They make the actual opening of the LLC very simple. You just click through the different buttons there, and you'll have all the information you need to actually get the results. So you can actually sign up through my discount code down below. You'll get about $200 off, so it makes it a lot of a better deal for you. But otherwise, it's a great company because not only can you get your LLC, but they also include the registered agent service for a certain time period. And this is great because it actually protects your information. So whenever you actually register an LLC, you need a registered agent on the actual state to have someone to receive all the documents. So if you were to get sued or if someone were looking to send you documents or if the IRS needed to contact you, basically a registered agent allows you to have that intermediary to actually protect your information and make sure that you actually have all the documents correctly organized and processed. So they'll actually receive all these documents for you, process them, and then send you everything that's actually important, thus limiting a lot of the spam and the junk that comes through there. So it'll protect you and make sure you get all the documents you need. For the final step, it's getting an operating agreement. So this isn't that necessary for most states, but in certain states, you actually need this to open a business checking account. So it's a pretty basic document. You can find templates online. If you want my template, just comment down below, operating agreement, and I'll send you the one I have. But otherwise, what this actually allows you to do is to just outline your business, basically what you do, how you get paid, who owns what, so the partners. And so it's a document that basically outlines your company. And it'll also allow you to do something else. So you could also get someone inside your company to do applications for you. So I call this a credit partner. And so if your credit's not that great right now, you could have a partner come in and submit applications for you and get funding by leveraging their credit. So that's a whole different training right there. But if you actually want to learn more about that, just comment down below as well, and I'll try to create that sometime soon. But an operating agreement is a document that isn't necessary in most cases, but it is a good to have. So I would definitely recommend checking this out and having that set up. Those are all different steps when it comes to actually setting up your LLC right the first time. So as you may have noticed, it's not just the applications and talking to the business bankers that matters when it comes to getting good results. It actually goes all the way back to day one when you're first starting up your LLC. And most people, they make these mistakes, they try to go back and fix them, but now you know how to set this all right the first time. But let me know if you have any questions down below about any part of this process, and make sure to follow the channel so you can learn more about funding and growing your business.